And good morning. Welcome back to the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So good to be back with you guys. Had a lot of turkey and stuffing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Matt, you probably had your fill and also started doing some Christmas decorating, if I know you.
Yep, absolutely. And I wasn't sure when you came in today if you were having a midlife crisis with a beard and a sweater, or you're just getting into the Christmas spirit.
Well, I think I might be going through a midlife crisis. We can talk about that later. The beard, there's an explanation behind the beard. We've been asked, Susie and I, to participate in someone's Christmas party coming up on December 18th. I'm playing Santa Claus.
Wow.
So about 2 weeks ago, I figured I didn't want to wear one of those fake beards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm growing this out a little bit. So I have about 2 weeks left to go.
So you're really taking this seriously.
Well, you know, that might be the midlife crisis. It might be a new career path for me.
All right.
We're going to spray this baby white, they tell me, in a couple weeks, and we'll be ready to roll. So welcome back, and thank you all. We hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving with your families. It's always good to come back. I love Thanksgiving. I love that start of the holiday season, you know, the Christmas season. When you get that Thanksgiving break, you're a little disoriented, I think, the day after, that Saturday after. Eating the leftovers, which is great, but it's just so good to unplug for a few days at a joyful time, I think, you know, and unplug and spend some time with family. So we hope you guys had a great weekend like we did, and it's good to be back. One of the other things we experienced over the weekend, and I think probably most of us are aware of, is Black Friday, right? And then yesterday, Cyber Monday. And the reports last week told us that Black Friday was, because we had last year off essentially from Black Friday, that people were out in droves. There were tons of people. I made the mistake of scheduling an eye doctor appointment last week on Friday, thinking, I'll be off, so I'll go to the doctor. I scheduled it for 3 o'clock. My doctor's in a mall. I got there, no parking. I was like, I need to rethink this one, never do this again. But it was amazing how many people were out searching for bargains, searching for deals. Yesterday, Cyber Monday, one of the busiest in history. Outrageous how people were planning their days. By the way, Cyber Monday, if you didn't know.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Well,
Sorry.
Siri decided to join us there for a minute on my Apple Watch. Speaking of Cyber Mondays and conditioning of deals, right?
She might be spying on you.
We know they are. We know they're spying. Cyber Monday is the day of the greatest lost productivity for work, for business. Because so many people are spending all day shopping, spending days looking at their deals. Cyber Monday is the number one day of lost productivity for us in corporate America. And Matt and I started talking about this over the weekend, and we said, well, why? What does all this mean, and what's it a result of? And what we came up with, pretty obviously, is it's customer conditioning, right? The retailers have conditioned us to get excited for Black Friday. They've conditioned us to get excited for Cyber Monday. You know, Walmart over the weekend had their, days of deals or something, right? All this conditioning that makes us respond and act and behave as consumers. And we started talking about how we have that ability too, and it made us reflect on how do we as sales professionals, how do we as business leaders, how do we condition our customers to respond to us?
Yeah, and just going back to the Black Friday, it's funny because my wife Paige online condition that these are the best deals, get ahead of shopping, and I say, do we need that, or what are you getting? Well, it's on sale, so we have to get it. So the conditioning runs deep, and I think the interesting thing about the conversation today is all conditioning isn't bad.
Correct.
It's not negative, and
there's a lot to learn from that.
Correct. And so I think what we want to do is be aware of how are we conditioning our prospects, how are we conditioning our clients afterward, customer service, the interactions that happen, because I think it's extremely important. We all talk about how busy we are and how fast things are flying around, but if you're client facing, you're having an impact on the customer experience and the conditioning of both prospects and clients.
Yeah, and oftentimes that conditioning is unintentional. You know, we often talk about the word intentionality here. And I think oftentimes the conditioning is accidental. It's unintentional. And I was thinking back to Friday. My son, we were talking earlier, Matt and I told him how Dante went out. He loves to shop. I mean, I'm shocked at a 17-year-old boy that loves to shop the way he does. And he went out with his girlfriend, came home very dejected. It was like there were no deals. There was nothing good. It was like horrible, He said, you expect on Black Friday to find TVs for $100. And this, and I look at him like, well, first of all, you don't have money, so why is this important to you? But anyway, that's another topic. And he went out and said how there were no deals. There was a dejection in his voice about the experience. And Matt and I were talking about what is the conditioning that we set up our clients for and our customers for in many areas. The first and the obvious one, I think, is around pricing, right? And are we conditioning our customers to wait for the end of the quarter because we're going to come out with discounts? I mentioned I was at the eye doctor the other day. Well, I always wear contacts. I'm just not, I don't like having glasses on my face, and my contacts make me need readers. So I go back and forth, but if I don't have my contacts in, I don't need readers, so I just hate glasses. Right. And I haven't bought a new pair of glasses in 4 or 5 years. My prescription hasn't changed. And my eye doctor though runs a sale. The place I go to, which is great. It's called iTeak. They're great, but they run a 40% off sale at the end of the year. Why would I buy glasses in April? Right? So like when I was in there the other day, I didn't really want new glasses, but I said, hey, are you guys running that 40% off sale? And they're like, yeah, it's going on. I was like, oh, let's look at frames. Well, I ended up not buying anything, but I felt a compulsion to buy. Good thing. However, they've trained me to not buy outside
Throughout
of this
the year.
time of year. So have we done the same with our customers? Are we training them? And that's what that conditioning is. It's really training, right? Matt, our resident psychology major here, will talk about Pavlov at some point, I'm sure, with this. But it's that training of customers, that training of, do we wait for the end of the quarter? Do we wait for the end of the year? Do we wait for the sale?
Well, just to backtrack a little bit, you talked about Dante being dejected, and he didn't buy anything and maybe wasn't loyal to a brand, but customers tell 9 people on average about a positive brand experience versus telling 16 people about a negative one.
Wow.
So
Say that again.
So this is important. So a positive experience with a brand, customers will tell 9 people on average. A negative one, people will tell on average 16 people. So this is important.
It's critical.
It's really important. And, you talked about pricing as well. And I think when you ask a salesperson, everyone says, oh, value. It's all about value. I sell on value. But what are you talking about throughout the sales cycle? Are you just on price? They bring up price and you dig your heels in and, okay, I got to be the cheapest. Or let's talk about discounting, or how can I sharpen my pencil? So really you're conditioning them, even if they mention price, staying there in the sales cycle, that's on you. You have to be able to ask questions of value and say, what's one other thing that's important? What's the cost of not making the right decision? How is this impacting your organization? Are you open to the fact that what you currently are paying might be part of your situation?
And I think, Matt strikes on something that's really, really insightful when you talk about price, is the negotiation will extend as long as we allow a negotiation to extend. So if somebody says something to you on price and you take it and you're like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know, let me look into that. That might be your way of stiff-arming it and being like, I'll just come back to that later. Do we know when later comes up, by the way? Yeah. Never. All right, so we stiff-arm it and
Tomorrow.
think, right, yeah, well, I'll take care of this tomorrow. And we know tomorrow never comes. So we think that we might be avoiding the negotiation by saying, let me look into that. No. In their mind, they believe you're looking into it. In their mind, you just opened and extended a negotiation. And are you conditioning them to negotiate with us throughout the process? Versus when somebody asks you about price and goes, yeah, I'm going to need you to be 20% lower on this, or I don't know if we'll do the work. If you have the intestinal fortitude to look back at that person and say, what if I can't do that? Then we're stifling, we're dampening that negotiation. So if somebody's asking you negotiation questions and you can say back to them, what if I can't do that? Now we're really conditioning them to know I'm being honest. I'm giving you the best deal. I'm being very forthright. Because if you start opening up the price discussion and you make it real squishy, then you're telling them your pricing doesn't have value or meaning, right? And then they start to distrust. And then so that's, not to go too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think another way that we condition during the sales process, because it truly starts at the sales process, because many of us aren't in retail. We have sales cycles that look a little bit different. What about keeping momentum and the importance of meetings and the importance of clear next steps and how impactful and necessary our interaction as a salesperson and a prospect is? Are we conditioning them? Doesn't matter if you don't pick up, or doesn't matter if you don't answer my email. I'm going to send you another one tomorrow that doesn't have any meaning or impact.
And the subject might be following up.
Yeah. I just wanted to follow up.
Yeah. Great. That adds zero value to the process. Total cotton candy language. As cotton candy dissolves on the tongue, those words dissolve on the ears, and they have no value. So Matt talks about clear next steps, and clear next steps we always talk about being about events, people, and appearing on two people's calendars, right? So they're about the events, what needs to happen. They're about the people involved. And they have to appear on two people's calendars to maintain that momentum. We have a lot of our clients conditioned at this point when we say to them, what makes sense? Do we want to look at calendars? They'll yell back at us and say, oh, that's a clear next step. And we say, well, yeah, I mean, that's what we do.
Or better yet, they look at their phones and say, you're going to probably ask for a clear next step.
Right.
So how's the 16th work for you? Because I want to beat you to it. But it is so critical in that process, in that project management, that we have different dates, different timelines, because we're seeing it now. We're coming to the end of the fiscal year for many organizations and people, and if they didn't hit quota or they're trying to get some sales over the goal line right now, they're trying to create urgency. And urgency, if not done the proper way, can feel a little bit pushy, a little bit slimy. I'm talking through a lot of deals right now with salespeople that I have to ask them, if it wasn't, close to December and you have a month left, would you be proceeding with the sales cycle like that?
Yeah.
Well, probably not. And then the other thing to look at is, are you managing expectations all the way through the process of what needs to happen to onboard? Because there are many people that we work with that there's an onboarding process. You just don't sign an agreement and say, okay, we're ready to work, and you show up. So as salespeople, are you conditioning your prospects of alerting what will happen next? Because I know you don't like surprises.
Oh.
I don't necessarily like surprises. So if you surprise them at the last day of the quarter, the last 2 days of the month, hey, we're going to really need to get this signed. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's waiting on magic. That's hoping on a miracle. And we don't want to do that. That's not what professionals do. Matt and I are big believers in our faith, and we love hope, and we believe in miracles, but it doesn't have a place in the sales process. And you owe it to the business, you owe it to those people who are counting on you, and you owe it to your customers and clients to behave in a very professional manner. Matt talks about how we let them know what's going to happen. That's expectation setting. Here's what's going to happen next. Here's what we need from you. Here's what you should expect from us. And when we do that, we get much more momentum when we have smoother cycles. Why this is so important, setting this conditioning and this behavior modification, or the expectation setting from the beginning, is because once we've set it, and once we've conditioned people, it's very difficult to change, right? You think back to Pavlov. We've all heard of Pavlov's dog. Well, they trained the dogs, when the bell rings, you're about to get food. So what happened? The bell would ring, dogs would saliva. That doesn't change. I mean, do you know how many times it would take for the dog to not get food after the bell, for that conditioning to change? It's very difficult. So once you've conditioned your customers or conditioned your clients that this is what you get from me, you ignore me for a while and I'll come back with a 10% discount on an email. Haven't heard from you, was thinking maybe if call me today, I can offer you 10% off. Well, guess what I'm going to do if I get that email?
I'm going to give you a call.
Or I'm going to wait another week, just wait till you come back with 20%. because you've conditioned me, right?
You're a much better negotiator than I am.
No, but you've conditioned me to wait, and you're going to give me discounts because you're going to devalue your product. So let's not do that, and let's understand where this comes from, because we have to own it, right? We own the conditioning, and whenever we talk with people and they go, "Oh, our customers do this," well, they do this because you've conditioned them, you've trained them to expect to treat you that way. So now's a great time of year to review that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's really interesting, and I think an impactful statement that you made. So maybe we think about today. Let's do it today, not tomorrow. What are the things that we dislike customers doing, and let's look inwardly and evaluate. Is it because we're conditioning them? Don't get me wrong. I always joke that there's a lot of bad salespeople out there. So part of the conditioning might just be other bad salespeople, and it's our job to shift the paradigm and to ask some tough questions, some one thing questions, perhaps. When we talk about pricing, to put our foot down a little bit and say, what if we can't do that? Some of those that really, really catch people off guard and make them think. But take a moment today and just think about all of the different things that prospects do that make you upset or irritate you, and think about, what can I do to change that? What are the questions that I can ask in my sales cycle to maybe break the conditioning, or at least have them think a little bit different?
That's a great question to take to your journal, your sales journal. The other question I'd add to that one is, and I think Matt's question is dead on. What can I do to change this behavior? The second level question of that is, why do I behave the way I do? What is it? Is it fear? Is it fear of having negotiations? Is it fear of entering into conflict? It doesn't have to be conflict. A negotiation doesn't have to be conflict. It can be healthy conflict where we're debating ideas and approaches. In this case, the idea would be, you're going to pay me what I think we're worth, and not what you just want to get the cheapest thing for. But what is it that avoids us from having those discussions? What is it inside of us that allows us to either cave or condition our clients and our prospects and our customers in a negative way? We have to own that, right? Because if we don't own it, it owns us. So what inside of us is forcing us to behave that way? And I think, sometimes it's the fear. It's the fear of the negotiation. It could be a fear of, I'm really not worth this. Our company's not worth this. Why would they ever pay this? And that comes from your internal doubt, either of the way you buy or of the way you see yourself. And, I think a great, one of my favorite quotes ever on this topic comes from Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy Roosevelt once said, it's very difficult to lead a cavalry charge if you think you look funny on a horse. So if you don't believe it, you don't believe you can do it in your heart, you don't believe you're worth it, if you don't believe you're really delivering value, that's going to be near impossible for you to sell it, right? So you have to get inside yourself, get inside your mind, do that self-reflection, go to the journal. Journals will help you with this, and think about what that is that's holding you back.
And just quickly, we talked a lot about the sales cycle up front, how we condition, but when you talk about the experience, people on the back end, once there are a customer, maybe customer service or an account rep, people like that can also have an enormous impact. And I was reading a blog, and they gave six things to keep in mind when you're on, maybe the back end. And this is one, even though it's three: empathy, patience, consistency. When you're dealing and tackling problems, adaptability, clear communication, which I think is so important in managing expectations. This one was interesting: work ethic. And the way they described that was seeing it through. How many times do we call customer service and they say, "Oh, whew, that's not us. You're going to have to call this number." And then we call a different number and they route us somewhere else. Some of the great, and I think I actually heard through the office the other day, you were really impressed with someone that was doing customer service because they followed up and they saw it all the way through. I don't think you even necessarily got the outcome you wanted, but you just had so much respect that they walked you through the entire process. Didn't shift blame, didn't shift everything to everybody else. And then knowledge, I think that's obvious knowledge in the product, the process, what happens. And then finally, thick skin.
Don't get personal is the way I describe that one.
So for those people that are past the sales, once you have a customer, want to throw those 6 things in that I saw on a blog.
Yeah, and I think they're even good for us as salespeople if you own those things. You think about a salesperson that has thick skin. You think about a salesperson that's willing to see it through and not just be like, you signed, so you're going to have to call customer service on that one. No, let's just help people. And that's how you start to build that loyalty. You build that conditioning. I have brands that I buy from that I call people that they shouldn't take my call, but they do. And they're like, yeah, we'll solve this for you. I'm like, that's great. That's all I want. I don't want to call 800 numbers that are places that I don't know. I mean, just help me.
And you spend more.
Yes. Happy to spend more. And come back more and more and more often and not shop them and not bid them against other people. Absolutely, because you trust them. They've conditioned me to trust them. So I think this time, and by the way, think about this with referrals as well. You know, we often talk about loyalty, referrals. Have you conditioned your customers to give you referrals in any way? I don't know if it's something we think about too often, but we could learn from a lot of the grocers when we tackle this. How many of you carry around, you know, a Kroger or a Giant Eagle tag on your keychain that you scan every time you go to the grocery store? And how many times you forget it because you might have taken a spouse's car or whatever and be like, I don't have my card. Can I give you my number? Right? Because you want the points. They've conditioned us to go there and shop with them. It becomes part of the routine. How can we condition? How can we condition our customers, our clients, our network to think of us when they need something? How do we condition them to do that? And I think, you know, it doesn't have to be big giveaways. It doesn't have to be loyalty cards. Oftentimes it's a handwritten note and a thank you.
Yeah.
It's a sincere, I appreciate that. Right?
I was just going to say, because this is a pet peeve of mine. When people are like, how do we get more referrals? Do we have to give a $10 card, Starbucks card? Not saying don't do it. That's fine if you decide. I really think it starts with doing good work.
Amen.
Right? Make people happy, earn trust when your words and actions are consistent over time, and condition them by asking. Why can't that just be part of our process, our sales process, our follow-up process, checking in, quality assurance, thinking of you? Who's one person we could be helping like you? Let's condition them by asking. I think referrals start with asking people, and it seems simplistic, but there are a lot of organizations that we work with that sit there, have whiteboard sessions, scratch their head. How can we make a program, loyalty, all that? Let's start with asking.
Let them know we're open. You know, somebody asked Matt and I, how's business going? We oftentimes like to say we're doing great. We're blessed. We're one client away from where we need to be. Right? So it conveys to people we're open to referrals, but, you know, we're not desperate. And I encourage you guys, go inside, find out what's motivating these behaviors, find out the conditioning, be honest with the conditioning you're giving your people. And here we are at the end of the year. It's a time for new things. And this is a great opportunity to reflect, see what we've done, see why we do it, own it, because if we don't own it, it owns us, and we can get better as we head into the next year. So, again, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Sorry we went a little long today. Something we're passionate about, though, is that interaction between you and your customers and us and you, because we really appreciate the time. We appreciate the trust. We hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for being with us as always. Take care, and God bless.